Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this is a session of Masks, A New Generation. This is running through July. This is 5 sessions on an early Saturday morning. So rather than my Diet Coke, you'll see my Moomin Troll mug with a lot of coffee in it. So that is where we are at. This session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, which is an online gaming community group that does a lot of games each month, 100 plus sessions on our calendar each month. People can sign up and play in these. We just finished last weekend an open gaming convention that we do a few times a year. We'll do another one later in the year because there's a bunch of online cons coming up and physical cons that have gone partially online that are starting to eat up the weekends. But we are going to get going into this. I'll have the players introduce themselves during the character creation process. Before we get to that, we have a process that is called CATS, that we walk through and talk about what the game is about and establish some baselines and some boundaries. So concept-wise, this is young superheroes that are coming into their own. They're dealing with the duties that they have. They're dealing with the powers that they've gained if they have them, and they're dealing with their own relationships and coming into who they are. Masks, the stats and things are very much about identity. Your labels are just that. They are what you think people see you as, how you feel people are perceiving you as. And I think that's always really important to keep in mind with masks. Now, in addition to this, we've got the usual masks frame with a slight tweak in that something has occurred. Something has occurred that is putting a shadow over the act of being a superhero in this world. And we're going to talk about that and figure out what that is here in a couple of minutes. But that's the thing that changes up maybe a little bit of what this is. Our approach, our aim is essentially to get our characters built with their relationships, put a few inciting incidents out there, and let you all bounce off one another. That you figure out who you are, figure out what you want to do through those relationships, through those connections. There will be, a loose through line of plot, but it is much more about our characters and how they interact. Now, tone. This is a game of fun. There's a little shadow of seriousness here. Now, what is that seriousness? What is that darkness level rise to? For me, that's very much the kind of darkness that you see in a show like Young Justice, or you've seen in Young Avengers. There are some serious things that are hanging in the background that reflect on our characters. It is not the darkness of Titans. It is not the darkness of Avengers Arena. Either of those things. Those are more grimdark than I am comfortable with. And so even if there is a little bit of bad stuff in the background, that is not overwhelming the tone and feel of the game. But connected to that, in terms of tone, the other thing that I want to talk about is our safety tools. I know all of you have played in multiple games, so you're familiar with these, but I am going to walk through them. We use a layered set of safety tools. Then that begins with a baseline of our lines and veils. These are things that are established as hard lines, meaning these are materials, these are topics, these are elements that we are not going to be seeing at all in the game. And then veils, meaning if these things appear in the game, we're going to fade to black on them very quickly. Now, that's on our lines and veils tab there. And some of those are already marked. Some of them you can add to. If there's anything that you want to add to the list, please feel free to put it on there and mark it as a line or a veil. When we get to the point of kind of character introduction, I'll stop there and actually walk through the lines of veils so we're all on the same page on that. Now, the next thing that we have to complement that is the X card. The X card is our way of marking out if we hit material that you find objectionable, that you find problematic, and material even meaning player approaches, players' tone, player interactions with you. Something that you want to mark out as an issue. It can also be if you feel like something has gone wildly off tone. Generally for online games, I ask that you say X card, or you can do this gesture. X card can also be used if, let's say, we're starting to slide towards something that we have a line or a veil on, and maybe we haven't caught that. I was playing in a veil game where we had slavery marked, and there were some things about the way that androids were that Tyler kind of stopped and said, I think we're heading towards this. And we kind of stopped, went back and recalibrated where we were at. Now with the X card, you don't have to explain, you don't have to justify it. The only question that might be asked is, where do we need to cut back to get that set? Last thing I'll say about the X card is that if the first couple of times something happens, you're like, I'm okay with that. And then later on, you're like, no, I'm no longer okay with that. This is starting to bug me. It is legit to X card it later. You'll always have the right to do that. Last thing amongst our safety tools is our open door policy. And basically that is, if you need to step away, if you need to leave, if you need to exit for whatever reason, you have the full right to do that. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to say, why you're leaving. It would be nice if you could tell us if you're going to be back or not, but that is also not a full obligation. If we understand the real world can affect things here, or you may be like, this is not the game for me. And if that's the case, you should feel free to step away. Those things are all on the table as our safety tools. So the thing that we're going to roll into now is talking about what might be an interesting shadow for our world. And I gave a few examples in the email. I'm going to walk through them really quickly. And then I'm going to kind of talk and poll the table about what you might find interesting or ones you want to definitely not do. So in the email, I put like a government crackdown or control over superhero activities, essentially, whether it's registration or something like that. Mass public damage due to a superheroic event, like there's a big bad and they destroyed a city, superheroes couldn't stop it in time, something like that. That's hanging as a in the background for people. A group of respected heroes went bad in some mass public way. A barely stopped invasion or outbreak, which people have connected to superherodom, like the Hawk person invasion from Justice League, the animated series. That's the other one. Deaths or vanishings of a large portion of the superhero community. If you looked at the RPG Base Raiders, that's sort of the premise of that one. The Thanos snap. These are all possibilities. So what I want to do is go through and check in and see with each of you if there are ones that like a couple that you're more interested in, you have another idea, or ones that you're like, that is not at all what I want to do. So let me start with you, Jason.
Why, thank you. I think these are, in fact, all lovely ideas, and choosing the correct one is not correct. And choosing the one that has the most meat for this group is a little bit tricky. I think I also think that a lot of them work pretty easily combined together.
Okay.
So I think I'm fond of the government crackdown, but I think the government crackdown can be caused by more or less any of the other ones.
Okay.
With the possible exception of the Thanos snap, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
But if there was the mass public damage or heroes going bad or those that lead to the crackdown could be good.
Okay.
But that being said, if someone feels strongly about another one, They're all delicious.
Okay, I'm going to make my way around counterclockwise on my little screen here. Kay,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. I am a big fan of Group of Respected Heroes Went Bad, as well as the Death or Vanishing of a Large Proportion. Are probably my two favorite off the list.
Okay.
The one that I'm not a big fan of is the Thanos Snap.
Okay.
But the others also sound really cool. The government crackdown specifically, I like the idea of having it as an adjacent effect.
Okay.
But yeah, those are probably my opinions of what I like the most and what I don't like.
Thomas, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I like all of them, and I agree with Kay that the Thanos Snap seems the least appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
The Death or Vanishing seems to have a kind of a sort of mystery. So I don't know whether people are interested in that, like kind of figuring something out. The others don't seem to have that. So, but I'm okay with either.
Okay. Cisco,
Are we picking from the list or can we deviate?
if you have
just
another
a-
suggestion that you want to throw in.
Yeah, I will pitch some sort of like earthly cataclysmic event. And I'm gonna draw from recent comic book media I've watched, and let's say that like the moon was about to crush the earth.
Ooh.
I like the idea of us playing with like the moon like right there. And maybe we can combine that too with like good superheroes gone bad. Maybe they're the ones that that sort of started that cataclysm.
Interesting. Brandon, any thoughts you want to add in here?
Absolutely. I like a bunch of them all together. I like no. I like the group of superheroes gone bad, a bad thing caused by superheroes, and a government crackdown, and a conspiracy theory that says that these are all related to aliens or people from the future who have been coming back and meddling with the time stream.
So we've got some,
and maybe even that the superheroes who did a bad thing, some people think, are actually did a good thing. We just can't. It just appears terrible. So that there's political division, in there on top of everything, and wild theories about what caused what and things like that, and the government's being manipulated into cracking down, rather than simply reacting to it, and that there are shadowy figures in the government.
Sure. As long as we don't go too Q, I'm okay with that.
Oh no. These are, as I said, just an environment where these, I'm just adding the idea that the sort of the populace is riven, by ideas that there are shadowy figures behind the whole thing. Someone's orchestrating a dreadful event towards some particular end, which hasn't been revealed yet.
So here's what we're going to do. The government has cracked down on superheroes. They have imposed this law and order policy. They're restricted on younger heroes, things like that. So you may be skirting the restrictions. There may be agents are of Aegis that may be looking to keep superheroes from doing too much, and a large number of respected supers from across different groups, probably some villains in that, went bad. They struck the moon, as Jason has written here, has shattered a portion of the moon. We had a season of wild weather, other supers trying to desperately keep that down, keeping fragments from falling to the earth. What has happened to those supers is unclear. We may play to find out where they are now, if they're still around or not. And so the government is worried about their return. They're worried about the ongoing environmental effects. So we've got all that as the background. Does that seem cool? Okay. So with that in mind, what I'm going to let you do is go ahead into the character keeper and grab one of those columns, start working through the playbook, making the choices on your moves and abilities and so on. Uh, what I'd like you to do is go up to the backstory questions, take a look at those. Once we get everybody in and we kind of have people have had a chance to look at the backstory, then we'll start walking through those and walking through the, when our team first came together. So I'm going to leave you to that and try not to talk as much. If you have questions about choices you need to make, please say so. And I'm going to stop.
Jason, I'd like to check in with you really quick. Are you thinking about taking Always Prepared?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I don't want to have moves that are too adjacent, so I want to check in there.
No, it's It's the Gadgeteer move.
Oh yeah, no, go for it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. Lowell, the formatting on how the powers look on this, or the moves rather, look on the sheet seem to be a little all over the place. That's a visual thing, so it doesn't really affect play at all. It just, as a visual person, I'm like, ah. Do you have a way you want it? Do you care?
No, get it set, and then I'll go through and look at getting some consistency in how that works. Because the pieces have come from, I think, from different sheets. We've got some weird setups for that.
Okay.
I do like having, I guess a label for the move, and then the move text is often the easiest way to work with those things.
Works for me.
Oh, I know you posted a pointer to the Harbinger playbook thing, but I've lost it.
Oh, sure. Let me find that for you. Here's the link in the chat to the
Thank
general
you.
folder, and all the playbooks are in the playbook subfolder.
Super. I knew you could put it up. But
going to give you all a couple more minutes to make some choices. Any moves or extra features, powers, things like that you don't choose now, you can choose on the fly. I'll let you do that, and then I'll go around and have people do very basic introductions of their character and themselves. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do the backstory questions. So that's the structure. So I'm going to give you a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to start working through introductions.
Well, maybe someone asked already, but is there a place where I can copy and paste the Harbinger moves?
I don't think I have. You mean the reformed moves, right?
I meant the reform move.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me see.
I can pull them off a PDF if you need.
No, I can probably type them
Yeah,
out real
no,
quick.
I don't have a complete set. This book doesn't have a complete set of the text for all the moves in there, and the reformed is one they don't have.
No problem.
But yeah, sorry about that.
You're fine. I figured I'd ask just in case.
They're easily copyable off of the general playbook section. If you just highlight it, where it's within the actual playbook.
You said I can highlight. Yeah, I tried highlighting it and then pasting it, and then it the format went.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what
pear-shaped.
happens when you copy from a PDF.
Oh, okay. I just went back and mixed it, but it works for me. That's so weird.
Oh, okay, cool.
Let me see if I shared something, I think, before you got on.
Oh, that's
that
right.
was someone else's character sheet, and it might be in there. So let me have a look. So I don't do a whole lot of creating spreadsheets. Okay.
Speaking of creating spreadsheets and sections, where would you like me to put like the specific Scion respect section?
The Scion respect section. I think you can probably let me look at that again here. I think probably you can most easily steal from the advancement section if you want.
Okay.
That might be the easiest way.
All right. Yeah, I'll steal from the advancement section. Is probably
Okay.
best.
Oh yeah, Misha's does have all the reformed moves in it.
Yeah, it's pretty complete.
Did you already grab those, or should I grab those?
I just put the link in there for Cisco to reference.
Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna copy that and drop that into our sheet.
Works for me.
Like a terrible person stealing from another person's thing. So I'm gonna put this at the very bottom of the playbook moves.
Awesome. Thank you for that, you all.
Okay. There you go.
Awesome.
Speaking of, for the respected section of the Scion, I'd love to source with you guys, so I'm not making up several NPCs in our world, and that way it gives you guys a chance to sort of dip into that, so I'm not doing so much, world building that people might want themselves to take part.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I like that idea. I also have a section where I make up characters in a gang I used to run with, so I will probably source out to you all as well.
I also have such a thing. No.
I like that.
The brain comes with a shame.
Yes.
Something they did that makes everything awful. And whether or not that's a weapon that the superheroes use to destroy the moon, or an AI, or what have you. It varies a lot.
I have a character specific idea.
Well, let's do this. What I'd like to do now is go across the character sheet in character keeper order. Have you introduce yourself personally and your pronouns, your character's pronouns, and give us the elevator pitch on who your character is, what what their playbook is and how you imagine them. Don't have to go any further than that. This is just to get that out there. After that, we'll take our break and then we'll come back and walk through backstory. So Cisco, you have made the fatal choice of choosing the first column in the character keeper. So,
Okay.
Tell us your name, pronouns, character name, pronouns, and the pitch on your character.
Okay. My name is Francisco. I use pronouns he, him. People on the Gauntlet call me Cisco. My character's name is Pietro, because I am not subtle at all. I have geokinesis as my ability, so I'm really gonna bend into that like modern earthbender thing. And I am picturing my character looks like Dante Bosco, who played Rufio back in the day in Hook. Rufio, yeah, that's what I'm picturing my character looks like. And I think my dad is like a Magneto type, and so he can bend metal. And he was, the way that I'm picturing this is like my old man was like deeply involved in the moon blowing up, and now I was involved in that as well, and now I have to make amends and prove myself. And I think that's the elevator pitch.
Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, I like that. Okay, that gives us a good sense and hook for who you are. Brandon, let's come to you. Tell us about your character.
My character's name is Hope.
And who you are and pronouns.
I'm sorry, I'm Brandon. I use he, him pronouns. And my character's name is Hope, who uses she, her. Hope is a harbinger, which means that she's from the future. She's also not 100% human, although she looks it to all ordinary sight. Because she's from a future where they cloned people, and she is one of those clones, and she escaped an apocalypse through the use of a experimental teleportation device, which, as it turned out, could also send someone into the past, and which has charged her up with chronotons, and that allow her to mimic a lot of the function of what you can do with the device. She wears a stone around her neck, which she calls the memory stone, which she said was a critical part of when you travel back into the past, you tend to forget everything that happened in the in-betweens, and the memory stone is what allows her to remember bits and pieces of it. So she has an imperfect memory of the future as it is likely to happen. But of course, it's not necessarily going to happen. And she found that this group of young people was a nexus point where if it added her presence to it, there was it was sitting right on a divergence line where a tiny effort might make a drastic change in whether the apocalypse happened at all, and indeed whether people, the cloning of people ever became a big thing.
Awesome. So I think that's enough for our elevator pitch because we just want to get a little bit out there for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that gives us enough to get a taste of that. Let's move next to Thomas.
So yeah, hi, I'm Thomas. I use he, him pronouns, and my character's name, her normal name is Malika Ahmed, and she's like she's South Asian. Her superhero name is the Jasmine Knight, and she uses she they pronouns. And I think what she doesn't have any powers. She is just acrobatic, and her costume is like she just wears like a stylish like suit, and she carries around swords. And yeah, she describes herself as working her way up to being the greatest superhero in the world. Fully aware that she is not, or rather, like it's aspiration.
Nice. All right, that gives us a nice sense of them. Next, Jason.
Hey there. So I've actually been working on this character for a while. It's a variation of the character I played the very first Mask game I ever played, which was a play test in right after Masks started being worked on. So his name is 404. He is the brain. He has size changing device, which he uses to sneak in and steal stuff. And his specialty is computer science. And a lot of what he did as the brain in his early days was sneak into government facilities and take things they gave up on, and then take it home and make it work to prove he was better than they were. He's got some self-image problems because basically his family recognized he was smart but told him to keep his head down all the time, and so he did. But you know, in his superhero identity, he can excel.
Nice. And then last but not least, Kay.
Hi, I'm Kay. I use she, her pronouns, and I will be playing Rodan Reynard, otherwise known as Foxling, our scion, who, given what I've heard so far about characters, is chef's kiss, perfect for this. So I'm going to tell you his father's name, and we can do a 1, 2, 3 guess on who you think he's based off of. His father's name is Rex Reynard. He has a Rex Corp, which he's a cruel mastermind and grand tyrant. There's a redemption corruption relationship between the pair. And recently, the reason why he's sort of gone to superhero is he was originally Rodan was very anti-superhero due to the rhetoric he'd grown up with his father, which was that the superheroes, in an act of negligence, his mother had been killed. Only to, as he was starting to come into the family business, find out that he in fact had no mother. He found a secret area in a Rex Corp lab and found out that he was created, not born, perhaps even possibly cloned. And yeah, that sort of put him on this path of, I want to be who I am and superhero, and sort of going against what his father does.
Excellent. All right, so that gives us just a preview while we're to be thinking about. So first break we take at the first hour, I always take 10. And then we'll take 5, a shorter break at the second break. So right now it's let's come back at 8 after, and I'm going to go in the same order, and we'll start looking at those backstory questions. Okay. All right, so we're back from the break. We're going to start with Pietro Richter, and Pietro, let's look at your backstory questions. So who mentored you in supervillainy?
That's going to be my dad.
Ooh, okay.
And I think we're gonna go with this whole earthquake theme. And I think if that's okay, we're gonna name my dad Aftermath,
Aftermath.
who can also control like earth and earthquakes and stuff, and
Oh.
also metal.
So are you hoping that someday you will grow into that ability? You're just an earth shaper, but someday you'll be a metal shaper. Okay. And so we have this villain. We know that they were part of the moon crack, the lunar destruction. The next question is who first showed you that you could be good?
Let me do a round of characters, and then maybe I'll pick another PC.
Okay. All right. All right. What was your goal when you were a villain?
Well, obviously to kind of like grow into the family business, and because I looked up to my dad, I think there's like maybe like an invincible sort of relationship there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just to do good, and maybe I can hone in on that a little bit later.
Okay.
But essentially, just do what my dad told me, I think.
And so what caused you to actually finally switch sides?
I think I had a realization where like I think my dad kept going like, no, we're doing this for the good. This seems evil now. This seems evil now. And I had that moment where like, are we the bad guys? And then finally like, yeah, and I'd like to involve other people at the table too in that moment.
Okay.
So if possible, but I do want to hear other people's characters.
Sure.
First.
So do you want me to hold off on the why do you care about the team question then?
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's
Okay.
going to have to do with the turn there.
Okay. Yeah. I think that makes sense. The Reformed has a lot of things that are contingent, so that makes sense. Brandon, we got a little bit of sense of your backstory, but let's walk through those questions for Hope now. So let's start with the we know that you took this teleporter device. How did you like to travel back to here?
I traveled. There was basically an experimental teleportation time travel device. It turns out to be the same thing, at least in this technology. And I broke into a laboratory to escape the catastrophic future that I was in. It seems to me that the device was destroyed in the process of my using it. I remember it coming to pieces just before I winked back into the past. But the trip seems to have charged me up with time energies, which allow me to do things like slip from one spot to another and create portals that do the same thing. The memory stone preserves me some memories of the future, but it doesn't differentiate paths too well. So I have my knowledge of any one future path is pretty clear, but they overlap so much and they diverge so much that exactly, which future is the likeliest to eventuate keeps shifting, and it's hard for me to. It's an ongoing struggle for me to try to keep track of that.
And so that's the first and third question. What keeps you from going back?
And this, by the way, is entirely changeable if it triggers something that wasn't on the Lines and Veils list. I'm a clone. I'm a synthetic person. I'm basically a replicant, and I'm escaping a future where the replicants, where humanity rose up against the replicants and decided to exterminate them. So if I go back, I'd likely be killed. And I don't know whether I want to change the future so that my people never exist. But I certainly want to change it so that humanity and the replicants, and thus we don't call ourselves replicants, don't have a war.
And why did you have to join this team to achieve that goal?
I had, before I broke into where the device was. I'm a tech leader. I used the supercomputers to run backwards paths of what we knew about the past, and I looked to where inserting myself as a tiny variable might create a big change. So I was looking for some small group of people that were not only on a cusp, but that might actually be changeable. Most powerful people and things like that are pretty set on their courses, and it would take quite a change to divert them. But here was something where maybe I could have an effect, and where a very, very small weight might move a very, very long lever.
Awesome. Let me stop there before we move on. You reminded me that what I should have done is gone to the lines and veils quickly. I want to do this out loud just so we have this on here. Let me do that. So here are our lines, our hard lines for the game. Dental horror, meaning damaged teeth, anything like that. Homophobia, racism, sexual assault, slavery, suicide, torture by the PCs, trapped in elevator or plane. So kind of claustrophobic trapping there. So those are all the hard lines. These are things we're not going to do. And then let's come to our veils. And we have veils, meaning we'll fade to black, or if they happen, we'll elide or they'll be off screen. And that is for graphic gore, harm to animals, harm to children, and sexual content. So those things are all on the list. Well, if we start to lean towards those, feel free to X card on that. That brings us to Thomas, to Malika. So come down and look at your backstory questions. So acrobat, costumed, exciting. How did you gain your skills?
Yeah, so I think Malika is like a trained gymnast, and she was training to be in the Olympics, and she was one of those kids that was, super focused on that goal, and now she's set that aside to become super focused on being a superhero. Yeah.
And so how did that start? When did you first put on your costume?
So my idea is that her costume is just what she was wearing when she first saved somebody. I haven't figured out exactly who or what, but is what she was wearing then, and that kind of got her a lot of publicity, and that just became her costume now, and so she's kind of stuck with it. I mean, doesn't have a problem with it, but it's very clearly not a superhero costume. It's just it's just a flashy suit. Yeah.
And so a public identity?
Yes.
Okay, so public identity.
Yeah. Like everyone knows who she is. She doesn't wear a mask or anything like that.
And who outside of the team doesn't think you should be a superhero?
I went with the classic option of her parents. They liked it much better when she was trying to be a gymnast. I think they like that idea. Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I'm going to say no.
Okay, so even more pressure on you as the only child in there. Yeah. Awesome. So why are you doing this? Why do you try to be a hero?
So I've got the public reason and the private reason. I think the public reason that she tells everybody is that she like, because I imagine there was like press coverage and stuff like that where she was asked this question. She says this a lot. She says, I've always wanted to be the best at something, and I thought it was going to be gymnastics, but it's actually I'm going to be the best superhero in the world. I think that's what she keeps saying. But I think the private reason, which she hasn't told anybody yet, and which I hope sort of comes out in play at some point, is that the first time that she actually tried to save somebody, she failed.
Ooh.
So this public event, which is sort of like her sort of like public origin story, is not actually when. So there was some kind of traumatic incident that she tried to save some people and she completely failed. So now it's about like being haunted by that and trying to fix it. Yeah.
And why do you care about the team?
So I think generally, like, being the person who doesn't have any powers, there's this definite sense that everyone on the team is like she looks up to all of them. But I think also like she's very aware of the fact that like she can't be the best superhero in the world by herself. Like this is a team thing, and also I like being the best is not about being the best individual. I think it is about like outcomes and stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, that brings us to 404.
All right.
How did you first reveal your genius to your family or friends?
I didn't.
Ooh.
404's family knows he's smart, but told him to keep his head down. I mentioned before. He hasn't told them about his work, and he doesn't intend to because it thinks it'll put him in danger. He's just part of the Geek Squad at Best Buy, as far as they know.
They just think he's going out to his shifts.
They think he's smart, but appropriate level smart. Because nails that stick out get hit, battered down.
So yeah, that's a good point. If that's the case, if that's something you believe, then why did you first decide to put your intellect to serve others?
Well, be clear, that's what his family believes. It's not necessarily what he believes. And he, like I said, it started off as kind of a game, and proving to himself that he was better than that, or smarter than that, and more capable than that. And I wrote it down as ageist projects, but it could really be whatever. And hold on, I've got something wrong here. Oh, I had the question written down differently. So when it would, that's all right. I will take part of my question there and then go like this. So yeah, he began to fix things up and sneak them back in. I see what I did. But then where that becomes not just about him and becomes responsible is something we're working out in the chat.
Okay.
Which is that one of the things he fixed up was this kind of teleporter that has a weird time slide thing. It's got a side effect he couldn't get rid of, though, which is it messes up your memories and scrambles your brain. And Rex Raynard used it to brainwash superheroes.
Ooh.
Specifically, going down to my shame, which is going to come up later, I figure that he used it on whatever our equivalent of Superman is. I broke Superman.
Oh. Yikes. So is that the accident or misfire that taught you responsibility, or is it something connected to that?
I had a different one written down because it doesn't seem to make sense to me to have this question and also the shame unless they're different. Like that one I could say is not my fault. The accident or misfire, which is my fault, is that the moon blew up and I'm like, all right, I can fix this. And I tried to rewire the emergency network for efficiency to get the vehicles to go where they needed to go faster. Like I just hacked into the network. I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense logistically. But he's not a paramedic. He's not a fireman. He's not any of those things, and it ended up just confusing things and making it a little bit worse.
Ooh.
So realizing he couldn't just treat the world as a Rubik's cube was part
Jason,
of that.
can I pitch you something about breaking Superman?
Sure.
What do you think about you being responsible for somehow breaking my dad and then causing the turn of my dad into a bad guy?
I am thrilled by that. That's fine. If we want to say Aftermath is the equivalent, like maybe that wasn't his name originally. That's his name now. Maybe we had the opposite of like Aftermath. Like, I don't know. Tomorrow Man. I don't know.
So we've got this hero turned villain, Aftermath. He was brainwashed by Reynard, and he is in fact
that's a good name.
Seismic's father. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Sorry, dude.
Hectonic.
It'd be like that sometimes.
It just be like
it do be like when you have a brain, it really do be like that.
Yeah.
So remind me, or review with me the Reynard. Let me back up. Part of my accommodations to is I ask for clarification.
Sure.
I know that can be burdensome sometimes.
you're fine.
But tell me about Reynard brainwashing.
That's going to be more to my right, in fact, because that's someone else's parent.
Okay.
It's so I don't really want to speak to that too much because I'm going to let Kay.
I can jump in now, or I can do it later. Whatever's best.
Let me do that now while I spill my coffee.
Yeah. So my father is Rex Reynard, and their sort of whole deal is they're the cruel mastermind, grand tyrant kind of guy. Their powers are sort of unrivaled genius, supremely honed skills, powerful allies, and they've got a sort of redemptive, corruptive relationship. They're very Machiavellian, and with that genius, I think, comes a lot of hubris and this idea that they should be in control, and it would really be for the best if they were handling this. And I think since, his youth, superheroes have been a thorn in his side, but he has noticed their use. And so I think what we had sort of mentioned was the fact that perhaps 404's technology got scooped by Rex Corp, who then used it or altered it to sort of brainwash or flip the switch on these superheroes to make them more villainous, as well as perhaps also slightly underling-esque to the whims of Rex Reynard.
Does that clarify for you, Cisco? Or do you have another follow-up?
No, that's super clear. And I didn't realize that the Scion, like their thing was that like their dad was a supervillain. So now I feel horrible because I feel like I'm stepping on some of your.
You're fine.
On what your thing is. Is it okay that I keep what I have so far?
Yeah, that's totally fine. I think honestly, it can create some really interesting foil opportunities.
I think so too, and I like the idea. I like the idea of like Lowell said, like now our dads are maybe like in cahoots with each other. Mm-hmm. I think that would be interesting to explore. Okay, awesome. So then brainwash my your dad brainwashed my dad. And
yeah, it's a lovely mix of sorry my machine messed up your dad and sorry my dad messed up the machine to mess up your dad.
I love it. I think that's really neat.
So that does suggest that maybe for a while Seismic didn't realize about the brainwashing. Does that seem like what happened there?
Yeah, and I think that's why I was considered a villain, and now I need to be reformed too. Some of it is like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I didn't know, but nobody sees me that way.
And here's the question. Here's the $1 million question. I assume this is true. I don't think people are aware yet. I don't think it's publicly known. Probably not known by Seismic, at least, that Reynard brainwash tectonic. Does that seem right, Kay?
Yeah, I don't think people know. I think that's more us meta knowledge knowing.
Yeah.
I don't think people know. I do think that there's some lingering weirdness moments that can maybe lead to that path where Rodan, because they have this redemptive corruptive relationship style. And I think where Rodan's like, wait, who's that person that I just saw in the hallway of the penthouse? They look strangely like insert blank, but what would they be doing here? Like, and so I think there's some interesting moments with that. But I do think I like the idea that he's smart enough to not make them just be overtly, you're villains now, go destroy things. Like, it's a lot more under the cover and, you know, cloak and dagger.
So the moon thing, we don't know yet. It might be an unintended consequence. It might be something else. Yeah.
I have an idea on that.
Yeah.
So one, I think that Tectonic's slide to villainy appeared to be slower to everyone else and just kept escalating, which is one reason that Pietro was buying into it. But I think at this point he's Aftermath, he is the villain, and I think his big I am a supervillain reveal was blowing up the moon. Because that is in his power set. And also I think that was done specifically so Rex Reynard could be like, look at these terrible heroes. Let me take control of
I happen to have this technology that I'm in the process of building that'll be done very soon to fix the moon. How serendipitous. Like
okay.
Also he's specifically offering to do what 404 was trying to do with his hacking. Like I will tell you where to send all your emergency services. And 404 was like, oh.
It's 404, but if 404 was A, evil, and B, had time to just be a little more smooth jazz thought out.
Which one day maybe he will.
Super privileged 404.
Well, let's swing back. You've got a couple more questions in your backstory, 404. When did you realize you need other people?
So the way I wrote this in, I made up an NPC, which is Dr. Robin Wismirski. Started leaving notes for the mysterious person who kept experimenting on the projects that she had closed, and then basically started a back and forth written notes thing, collaboration. Whether or not that stays that way, if someone has a different idea, I could change it, but that's where I am right now with that.
Is this an older scientist, or is this a comic book absurdly young scientist?
That is an interesting question. I had envisioned them as being older, but let's make them comically young because that creates more opportunities for tension.
Okay. And then why do you care about the team?
They are the only people who know that Vincent is 404 and the only ones who know how smart he is, and them recognizing that he is smart is everything.
Excellent. All right. That brings us to hinted at, foreshadowed Rodan Reynard.
Rodan Reynard. Sorry, one second.
Rodan.
Throwing a picture in there. Oh, that did not work out well. We'll mess with that later.
Okay.
So yes, Rodan. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, Rodan's powers were curated from conception, and he's got regenerative abilities as well as cosmic energies.
Ooh.
And his look is male white, taut body, expensive clothes, and bright costume. I'm thinking like a Nightwing X costume, except it's in like a sort of bright foxy orange with sort of that fox face instead of that blue V that's there with tones of white, black, and brown. And he's got a more of a Batman-esque hood, except it's got like floofy slightly ears on the top.
Okay.
It's foxy instead of Batman.
So we've established who your supervillain parent is. The next question though is, who told you? How did you find out about your parents' true nature?
So my father, Rex, actually told me himself about what he did and how he had his designs for the world and how he wanted, me as his son to be a part of all this machinations. I was the future of Rex Corp. Rodan was kind of hesitant about this, but the narrative he'd been set up his whole life set him in this course and seemed ready to begin with it all, how he was raised. He started attending these meetings and learning the true underground nature of Rex Corp. Like, yes, up top, we're making these wonderful vaccines, but in the labs downstairs, what are we doing? However, during one of these meetings, he sort of wandered off and came upon information in a file that changed his sort of whole sort of purview there, which was that he was created, not born. He'd been fed this narrative that his mother had died. Like there was a whole tragic story, like, your mother and I were walking and some negligent hero led to her death. And that's why he doesn't like heroes and why, Rex thinks he needs to control the world. But his mother didn't die of negligence, and he actually doesn't have a mother as far as he's aware. He was created, question mark, question mark.
So why did you turn from the taking up the mantle to become a hero?
So finding out that his father had lied, had created him, and the fact that he also sort of felt like he had no agency. It was like, I was created and then I was raised this way. I was fed this narrative, like he was just walking this path, and he was just like, you know what made him want to sort of rebel and stop and show that he had his own better path and use for his own powers and what he was going to do. He wasn't just going to, follow this designated path.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Rex finds sort of hilarious and is like, yes, this is the teenage rebellion they warned me of.
Oh, so your father is aware of you taking up this mantle? Ooh,
I think he's aware, and that's why we have this corruptive redemptive relationship where I'm like, I'm gonna show you the error of your ways, and then you'll do better. You'll spend a little bit of time in jail, but then you'll do better. And he's like, that's very cute. Like sitting across this very large ornate breakfast table at each one at the head. And it's like, it's very cute. Now stop playing pretend with your friends. This nonsense done. Come back over here. We have work to do.
Oof. And who outside of the team helps you on your chosen path?
Yeah, so I have an idea. I was thinking maybe there's like a sort of guidance counselor, ex-therapist kind of individual who maybe is a former superhero. I was thinking possibly like maybe the city's former greatest hero or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who now like is a lot older. They were probably from the first generation of heroes. And now they do just a lot more of like working with young teens that have powers and giving back to the community. And I think he's been sort of very supportive of this idea of, no, you don't have to follow what your dad wants. And, you can do you. And,
Give a name?
Let's call him Mr. Maresca.
Mr. Maresca. Okay. And why do you care about the team?
So they accept Rodan as a hero and his desire to do better without like the trepidation that's there a lot. Because like a lot of people are very trepidatious, like, oh, you're a spy. Oh, you're not really good. Like, look who your father is. I don't think most people know that what he found out about his heritage. I think he keeps that a little closer to the vest. And yeah, so most people are just like, look who your father is. Like, of course you're not here for the right reasons. And they accept him and believe in him.
So interesting that the reformed Scion split in terms of directions is really interesting here between Seismic and Foxling. Let's swing back to Seismic and look at those questions that we kind of put a pin in.
I appreciate you doing that. Who first showed you that you could do good? Correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas, but I see your character's name is Malika, right? Okay. I see Malika as, I always feel like the beacon is like the heart of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe Malika is the one that helped me turn to the light side.
Like when you were like still caught up with your father, still had doubts, but couldn't pull away. It's Malika's example that drew you. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that it was probably too long for Pietro. Like Pietro realized his dad was a villain, and there was a really long time there where he was going along with it.
Mm.
Like too long for him to be like, I didn't know any better, But I think maybe Malika brought him back.
And what was it that caused that final switch? What was it like? Was it just sort of the revelation, the full acceptance of that?
No, do you have any ideas,
I,
Thomas?
I have, I have an
Oh,
idea.
or Brandon?
Well, I mean, I'm from the future. I could have told you this is your chance to change, and you need to grab it with both hands because your paths in the other direction are all short.
Ooh.
I like that. I like that. I think I'm gonna say that like I think that implies that like I would die, but I think
Well, I mean, they're all ugly.
yeah, they were all ugly. I think I'll go with that. Like I think at the end of the day, Pietro really wants to help people, and I think Hope put into perspective probably how much damage he probably would do, and I think that's what turned him.
Nice.
Yeah, with Malika's help, I think that's really good, Brandon. I have to remember the time. Oh, yeah, the fact that you can look into time. Brandon, I want to follow up and ask you, like, Pietro is like asking you how you can how do we turn my dad back to good? Is Hope like eschewing those questions, or what is that relationship like there?
No, she's working with you to try to figure out the time stream. We have to find a time path where your dad does turn and see where the link points are, but it's really hard, and the computers of this day and age aren't good enough to help me, so I have to do it in my head. But I'm confident that if we work on this together, we can find a way to do it.
That's awesome. Lowell, I know that you're
Yeah.
gonna ask, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna
Please.
because there's why do you care about the team? I think that Malika keeps me maybe out of trouble, keeps me out of trouble. I think 404 and Hope have the technology and the means to like maybe bring my dad back. Like maybe 404 can unscramble my dad's brain, maybe. And then what do you think for Rordon K?
I think that there's this sort of mutual, it's like a very interesting dynamic there of like both of them want redemption for their fathers. Both of them feel this weight and this need to save their fathers. I think there's an interesting juxtaposition between your father was brainwashed and my father did the brainwashing. Not that we're entirely aware of that yet, but yeah, I think we both have this goal where we're both like our dads are really could be good guys and could help the world a lot, and things like that.
Okay.
That could be very sort of interesting there.
Yeah, so I think maybe my reasons for, or maybe my connection with Rodon is more relational. Like there's some of that, like we're going through the same thing and we're both on the
we're in
same.
this together.
And we're in this together. I like that camaraderie.
Awesome.
And then, Lowell, could I add one more question?
Yeah,
Do we
yeah,
have
please.
time? Okay, because I have this move called blowing off steam. When you commit a misdemeanor or small victimless crime, you may clear a condition of your choice. So I wanted to pull the table and say, for every character, I have either already convinced them to do some sort of mischief, or I am currently trying to get them into mischief, and it doesn't have to be one-on-one. Maybe we've done it as a small group, but yeah, can I pull the table and ask that?
Sure. So what is the question that you want them to answer?
So for example, Jason, what has Seismic convince 404 to do to break the law, or is currently trying to get him to do to break the law?
Well, 404 is consistently a petty thief already. He just puts things he just puts things back.
Yeah.
So it could be to try and convince him to steal something that he doesn't especially need, or serves no purpose. Like,
Or
just to
maybe we have done some law breaking together already. So what is the sort of thing that like 404 steals and then puts back? Because that would be
Normally-
victimless.
Yeah, normally he takes tech that isn't working yet and then fixes it so it does, and then puts it back.
Like the Geek Squad Avenger. Like,
Yes.
you're gonna do good. That's really great. I think maybe our characters, like my character, is looking to make you steal bigger and bigger and bigger things, and just making it harder and harder to put it back. So
Yeah.
I love that. What about you, Kay?
I think you're still working on convincing Rodan. I think Rodan has this very much this idea and this image. Like, no, I literally cannot step a toe out of line, man. Like they're looking for a cross to stake me to. Like,
Okay, cool. So maybe our relationship involves a lot of me just being ridiculous and being like, hey, do you want to cross the street here? We'd be jaywalking. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
oh yeah,
just
yeah,
a
for sure. And he'll like
two-shoes.
roll his eyes and like hover himself over the street and be like, come at me.
That's great. I love that. What about with Malika, Thomas?
Oh, you muted.
I think it would be cool if we broke one of those bad laws, you know, like maybe there's a law that we disagree with, kind of like in principle or something. Maybe it's like maybe it's like bad banks or something like that, or like tax records or something, and we kind of like mess with stuff like people's debts or something like that, kind of get them.
What were the examples? I'm sorry, say that again.
Stuff like wiping out like debt records or something, you know what I mean? Like some people have like loans and we try to we break into a bank and we kind of like mess with that or something like that, you know?
I super love that. And neither one of us are like super tech savvy, right?
Yeah, so we don't do it very well. Like,
I like the idea.
Yeah,
I like the idea of like maybe stealing some of 404's tech to try to do this, and we're just like failing miserably. We're trying to break into things we don't know how to break into.
Yeah, we could just ask him, but we refuse to.
That's really great. I love that. And what about with Hope?
Getting into places that we shouldn't be. Just to, it's like, well, it's like, have you ever wondered what the view is like from on top of the Pentagon?
That's awesome. That is so awesome. What are Hope's teleportation
Yes.
and portals?
Yeah,
That's great.
She is the expert on getting into places that you're not supposed to be.
That is so great. I love that.
Excellent. So let's now walk through the influence questions and the relationship questions. Yes.
Any chance before we do that, we can, if we want to do it after, jump on the like specific playbook stuff. So like I have like those heroes, and I think someone else mentioned that they have some stuff.
Oh
they
yeah.
have NPCs that need to be like fleshed out.
Yeah. Actually, let's do this.
I think we all do actually.
Let's take 5.
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll do all of that. Like, okay, let's get names to faces kind of thing, and then we'll finish up with the influence and relationship stuff. So just take 5, bio break, and we'll come back.
Is it okay if real quick, I just want to throw out the concepts that are on mine so that people can think about them while they're on break. So the things that I'm going to need are my parents' greatest enemy, my parents' greatest victim, the personal idol, the city's greatest leader, and the city's biggest celebrity. So I don't know if those ideas tickle anyone's fancy specifically, but yeah, we'll go through there.
Okay.
Me real quick, I need to come up with 3 villains, and Kay, I like the idea of there being some overlap with like some of the villains I used to roll with. These are 3 villains that I used to roll with. Some of the villains that I used to roll with also work for your dad or are part of that super villain group. Okay.
So complicated.
But it's going to be delightful and blessed.
It is. It's going to be, like Kay said, chef's kiss. So.
Okay. Let's take 5, and then we'll come back. So how do you want to do this? Okay. What do you feel comfortable with?
I'm going to throw this out to everyone else. I had listed off before the sort of individuals, one of which we've already filled out, which is the city's former greatest hero. So yeah, I'm going to see, is there anyone who was particularly like fancied or had an idea for one of those ideas I'd thrown out that they liked?
Yes, city's greatest leader.
Okay, yeah, let me hear it, Brandon.
Dr. Leila with an H. Trevani. Scientific polymath, the founder of a number of city charitable institutions, including whatever the city's name is, primary hospital. What is the city name?
I think just because we always do it, this is a parallel universe, Gauntlet City.
Okay, so yes, Gauntlet City General, which is both a high-tech hospital that accepts anyone, and because of its large endowment, and a cutting-edge research center in the biosciences.
Can you put that name in the chat for me?
Sure.
So she's a philanthropic. Okay.
She's a physician, researcher, and philanthropist.
Okay.
And a voice, a voice for, available medical treatment available to anyone. No one gets turned away. And she's always pushing back against, government cuts and programs to the poor and disadvantaged. And so she stands out, even though she's not she's in a political role, although she's not a politician.
And you put the name in the chat?
I did. Nope, but I put it to K. So
Okay.
it doesn't help at all.
No.
Yes.
What are the other choices, Kay?
Yeah, of course. So we have my parents' greatest enemy, my parents' greatest victim, my personal idol, and the city's biggest celebrity.
So I would have put Tectonic as your parents' greatest victim instead of
Ooh. Yeah.
the other one.
Also, here's the one question though: is I theoretically have to know these people?
Okay.
I know that they are my father's greatest victim to do reparations to them.
Okay. So you don't know that he had been brainwashed yet?
Do we? So I know we were talking about them not knowing. Do we want him to know that it's Tectonic? Maybe I know and you guys don't.
Ooh.
Do we like that idea?
I like that. And maybe part of your reparations is maybe has to do with me. Maybe I don't know mechanically how your reparations work, but
so it's so it's not reparations. Sorry, I misspoke. It's respect. So I have to gain their respect. I don't know if that would.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do it or not. Also, mechanically, I have to know because it affects my stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I don't mind. I think everyone knows that Tectonic, now Aftermath, was my dad, because I think what the thing about the Reformed is he is also trying to prove himself.
I think. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say I think we don't know that Rex did it to your dad.
Yeah.
That's the question: is do we know that Rex Reynard is behind it? And I think we don't know was what we decided earlier.
Right.
I can. Yeah. If we don't know, that's fine. I just have to know that my tech is responsible for it.
Yeah.
And also one of my questions is going to be, I have told one person that, so at least two of us are going to know that my tech is involved.
Okay. So we've got two: greatest hero, greatest leader, and then
Still got greatest enemy, victim, personal idol, and biggest celebrity.
You don't technically need to fill those all out yet, by the way. I'm looking at the playbook. You have to do at least two of them, but you can do the other ones as the game proceeds.
Are there any other ones you want to have on the table before we start?
I'd like to at least have greatest enemy.
Okay.
I'm kind of I know we mentioned that Tectonic was our Superman, but also sort of who is our still active, really great hero?
Ooh.
Some equivalent of Wonder Woman.
Um,
Yeah, and Lowell, feel free to. This is also to you. It's not just to my fellow
Mhm.
players. I don't want you to feel
No,
excommunicated.
and I appreciate that. So greatest enemy. So we have someone we received yesterday in Wonder Woman. So we have a powerful female super who has acted as a balance, now trying to hold the gates, and has been a long time enemy of Rex. Let's see, a name. Names are always the hardest things, aren't they? Ba, 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 ba.
Enchantress.
Pardon?
Enchantress.
Enchantress.
Let's put Enchantress there. I'll put that kind of as a placeholder. If we decide that we want to change that, we can, because there are a couple of Enchantresses, but we can we can play around with that and have that as a name. We kind of know what the archetype is, and I think that's the important field. Does that feel okay to you, Kay?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Do we know what their power suite might be?
I think they definitely have to be supernatural, especially supernatural versus science there.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think? Like, are they more Wonder Woman, or are they more Zatanna?
I like more Wonder Woman. I like this idea of sort of justice and like very sort of, again, that like opposed, like tyrannical versus like for the people sort of a thing.
Who is the
What?
Astro City Wonder Woman analog? Is that Winged Victory? Is that who that is?
Yeah, that's
Yes, Winged Victory.
Okay.
It's a really good name.
Astro City is brilliant.
Yeah.
What if instead of enchanting people, which is common with Enchantress, what if she enchants items? What if she is a gadgeteer, but she is a mystical gadgeteer?
Ooh.
But but it's Wonder Woman archetype, so it should be
There's no
someone
reason.
who is a fighter primarily, or someone to who's a
Enchanted sword, enchanted.
Yeah. So this is a powerful figure, able to imbue items, to essentially create their armory on the fly, to use in their battle against foes. Does that seem cool with you?
That seems good. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm picturing that she has like a spear. That's like her thing, and maybe she imbues spears with very Amazon type.
Yeah. Spear of
Spear,
justice
shield,
kind of thing.
magic,
of justice.
silvery magic armor.
So we've got those. We've got 3 that we will fill out in play. Jason, you also had some people that we needed to identify, right?
Well, we've identified the people because I absconded with Rex Raynar for one thing, and Tectonic for another, or Aftermath.
Okay.
And then another NPC I added was Dr. Robin Wismerski, whether she works for Aegis or somewhere else. The assumption on my character is that she works for Aegis.
Okay.
But then the other thing, just to make it clear how the shame works for the brain, is that 404 has a deep and abiding sense of guilt for something that they created or had a hand in creating. We kind of know that it's a world-class problem. Might not be publicly known yet. In this case, it's an altered former ally, which is Aftermath. Whenever confronted with that shame, either I mark a condition or I shift superior down and danger up.
Ooh.
If the shame is an NPC, which it is, they never lose influence over me. And then at the end of every session, I'm supposed to ask, did I take steps to make amends for my shame? And if the answer is yes, I get potential. And if no, somebody on my team gets influence.
Okay. So that gives us a mechanical thing we'll try and keep in mind, and certainly we'll want to confront with. Does the beacon have any other NPC or other things we need to establish here?
Drive.
Oh yeah, what is your drive?
I think the way I understand how drives work is that I choose 4, and whenever I hit those beats, I get to pick from a couple of options. So right now my 4 drives are punch someone you probably shouldn't, stop a fight with calm words, which is like, yeah, reject someone who tells you you shouldn't be here, and help a teammate when they most need you.
Awesome. That's a great set of those, very much fitting into the structure that we have set up. Are there any other people or questions that we need to establish for Hope? And we'll come to Seismic as I'm kind of working my way there. Hope, is there anything else we need to establish outside of the influence and stuff?
I have no NPCs need to establish, but I have one that exists, kind of.
Okay.
Hope is often accompanied by an orange tabby cat named Humphrey, who comes and goes when he wants. Literally pops in and out of existence if you pay close attention.
Nice.
Humphrey was the test creature that they first sent back in time, and has somehow become, well, at least according to Hope, the only fixed point of reference in the universe.
Nice.
Spoiler alert, Humphrey is the key to this whole thing by session 5.
Yeah, well, it's Humphrey's completely physically, I mean, from look, is completely unremarkable cat, but if you can see timelines, Humphrey, when you move, if you kind of imagine moving the whole display and just once the cat stays in place.
I think we just had something that doesn't make sense. A cat that isn't important.
Yeah.
I don't think those go together.
Or the cat that is all important. It depends on
it both is and is not all important at the same time.
See what you did there, Jason.
Rating your super cat. Okay. So let's come to Seismic. You have some things we need to establish.
Yeah, and there's 3 villains, and then mechanically, this is pretty neat. Essentially, as I'm trying to get out of the life, it pulls me back in. So Lowell, there is a when time passes move here. I just want to flag post that because that's probably going to be like a beginning of session thing to roll. And essentially, I can go to them to help me fix my problems, but then things get more complicated. And then if I help the villains with their problems, then I can clear myself of their debt, essentially. Just throwing that out there as you guys help me create these 3 villains. Who do we want complicating our lives, essentially?
So do you have an idea? Do you have a name you want to put out there, Seismic, or do you want to poll the table on that?
Yeah, didn't somebody say that they love the Inferno from Monster Hearts? Is the Inferno a literal demon from Monster Hearts?
Oh no, it's essentially someone who makes a deal with a greater being to get powers and things like that. And then there's a whole debt mechanic of the more you use those powers, the more you fall under that person's influence.
Gotcha.
But this is actually very similar to.
It's like a modern day warlock, essentially.
In Monster Hearts, it's a metaphor for substance abuse.
Yeah, for substance abuse, like that.
So do you want the warlock as one of your villains?
Yeah, I want something like that. That seems neat.
So the warlock is one of the villains. Anyone else have an idea?
I'm picturing something almost like Spawn, and they maybe have a dark figure behind them all the time, something like that.
Awesome.
I think a giant abomination-like monster would be nice. How about Leviathan is always fun to use.
That's good. I like that.
I have 2 ideas that I think could be very fun and very interesting. I think a Jinx-like character.
What's that?
So Jinx, she's sort of Teen Titan, sort of younger ex-convictor. Okay. Essentially, she can deal with entropy and luck and things like that, and she causes bad luck to happen. And she's a little more whimsical, pigtails, and sort of tends to be very gothic dress and things like that, very giggly. Or I think it could be very fun to have like a sort of an NB individual who is more scaled, like poison ivy or something like that, with that sort of angle of like they're there for the plants and the planet, who could be an interesting villain because they're concerned about the moon thing too, because of how that's messing up stuff with like nature. So they're like a villain that's not directly related to this other villain plot we have, which could be interesting.
Yeah.
So they also have a stake in that, and perhaps they also, I don't know, I'm a big fan of Poison Ivy's powers and like the sort of like mind messy kind of fun events that can happen with that. Yes, I love kudzu. I love kudzu. I have a friend in Monster Hearts whose character has a lot to do with kudzu. Yeah, kudzu
So
could be,
I'm
kudzu
picturing.
could be a cool name.
I like that, and I want to take that. I don't know what kudzu is, but
It's an
You are
invasive-
not in the
invasive
South, I
vine.
see.
It's an invasive vine species, and it smells like grape soda.
oh, that's a type of plant. So I like that name, but can we, Lowell, can you make it like a modern day druid?
Okay.
Like antlers coming out of the woods, animals, plants. That's
Yeah, I love that. So essentially, we have a warlock, a druid, and a barbarian.
Something like that.
Yes.
There's three D&D character classes.
Right.
I'm so basic for like fantasy. I kind of
No,
super
I love
this.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You might want to look up the real life horror that is kudzu, though.
It's
Yeah,
terrible
kudzu.
stuff.
Okay. Will do.
All right. So that gives us those three. Are there any other things we need to establish NPC names there for you? Or are you all good with that?
I think I'm all good. I'll actually type it out here in a minute.
Okay.
I'll probably throw you like the name of the warlock maybe
Yeah.
later.
What I'll do between sessions is I'll get an NPC tab. We'll get some names and descriptors in there. People can put extra things in there. I'll steal from Jammy's NPC tabs because they're the best, and we'll get that in there. Since we've come that way, let's come back to Seismic and we'll work our way across, because we've got the some of the most important things here, which are your relationship questions. And then clarifying what your influence is. So what's your first relationship?
Says, I've earned the trust of blank and follow their example of what a hero should be. Do you all think we should make that an NPC or
No,
a PC?
they should all be
These are
PCs.
All should be
These are all PCs. Okay. I've earned the trust of blank and I follow. Which of you four are more like the emblematic good guy hero?
From a moral point of view, Hope is very much that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like
Because
I like that.
her whole thing is preventing an apocalypse.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hope there.
Okay.
Okay. I really want a character named Love so that I could be like, I want love and hope, but the greatest of these is love. Let's see. And then I did something terrible to blank once, and I hope that they can forgive me. Anybody have any ideas on that?
So this had been maybe during your villain period.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got something for you, Cisco. So there's this moment in Malika's past where she tried to be a hero, like the first time that she tried to be a hero, and she failed miserably. And that's kind of driving her, that kind of failure. What if she was trying to stop you, but she doesn't know that, but you know that because she wasn't wearing a mask or anything, but you were. Or do you tell her? I think that could also be okay. But what if you were doing something bad and Malika was trying to stop it, but it didn't work out. And
I
you
like
won.
the idea. I love that idea, first of all. Second of all, I like the idea that you do know, and even though that was such a tragic thing, Malika still tried to redeem Pietro.
Nice.
I think that really shows Malika's heart.
Nice.
I think if you look at this group, actually, there are like 4 of us with like parental like issues. Like I know 404 is maybe the slightest, but I think it's also important. And I think that's something that kind of brings us together when we all have this.
Coming of age story with parent issues. Oh
I
no.
was just gonna say that, Kate. I was like, this is shocking and surprising. Said no one ever.
So
Yeah,
let's come to your influence question there. Do
You have to
you?
do the. Oh wait, no, you already did. Never mind.
I
Ignore
already
me.
did something. What? Okay. So do you talk openly about your days as a villain, or are you keeping that quiet? It's an interesting question, given how you're pushing
Yes.
people to do little things.
Yeah. Do you, if not, just give influence to the one teammate whose example? Oh man, this is pretty character like defining. Like I
Yeah.
might, because it's sort of douchey to just be flippant, right, about it. But I barely even know this guy, and I already want him to be awesome. What do you, and like sort of a good guy? Can I get some opinions from the table?
I feel like talking about it might be good because it sounds like the way your atonement tracker is going and your involvement with certain things, it would make sense for it to be known.
it doesn't mean that you like doing it. It's just that you do it.
I would just talk about it.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
for one thing, okay. So one, I think it has better role playing opportunities, and two, an abundance of influence on people can create complications, but it also has more mechanical bonuses, since we all get anyone who has influence over you gets a +1, and that includes helping you with things.
Indeed. Yeah. So I think that just because I talk about it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm flippant or douchey about it.
No,
So,
no, not at all.
yeah, I
It
think
could be painful
Could be the
group therapy kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that, and I think I'm picturing Pietro as being like a deeply torn about his past sort of character. So I think he talks about it out of guilt, out of shame, even to the point where he makes other people uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Like, listen, dude, like, okay, we're your team, we forgive you, but it's just like Pietro's just really still caught up in that. So.
Nice. So everyone else should write down that you have influence over Pietro/Seismic. Hope, what is your first relationship question?
Someone turns away from the hero's path according to my history books or memory. I have to prevent that from happening. And it's clearly seismic.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me again what happened again, or what our connection is.
Well, in some timelines you go bad. You turn away from the hero's path and revert, and disaster results. And so I have to stop that from happening.
I love that. Is that something that that Pietro knows about, or no?
Yeah, I think so, because we've established that
that's right.
that Hope had that change.
That's right. That's right.
I think, yeah, you've although I have been coy about details, so you can worm those out of me at some point.
I like that.
When you want the gory, when you want the the gory stuff, but
the ones you remember anyway.
Yeah.
No.
And what is your second one?
I've always idolized blank, but it's too awkward to admit it to them now that you've met them in real life. Keep it cool. Keep it cool. This could be any of the other three because I've got reasons to idolize them. It could be Malika because she's the leader. It could be 404 because she's amazing. It could be Foxlane. So
I think we've got a connection with you to 404 with the whole time thing.
Okay.
So I think maybe Malika, Jasmine Knight, or Foxling seem like the logical two choices for that.
I think Malika would be a good idea because we had already discussed in PMs our connection. So I think it would be good to have one to Malika if you're not like set on something.
Absolutely. So Jasmine.
Also,
Hey.
really quick.
Yeah.
Which spelling variation are you using for Pietro? Because I've seen a couple different ones on the character keeper and in here, and I just want to spell it right on my
Yeah,
sheet.
I think I'm still playing with it, but I'm gonna say final answer T as in Tango.
He is a
TIE T as in Tango RO.
And then what is your influence distribution there, Hope?
Oh, let's see. Well, everyone has the power to change the future. So at least my future. So everyone has influence on me.
Okay, so everybody please mark down that you have influence over Hope. All right, that brings us to our beacon. What is your first relationship question?
Blank is awesome, and you take every chance you get to hang out with them. This could be anybody, but I'm going to say it's 404. I think we're just like buddies, and we just hang out a lot. That's it. Yeah.
That work for you, Jason? Okay.
Okay. This one is interesting. I think it could be anybody, but if it's one of the bad kids, then it's really interesting, right? Because it's like, why them? But I think I think that's more complicated, but it could easily also be Hope, because maybe there's a sense of like, if Hope thinks I'm a real hero, then it's true, because Hope knows the future. So
Sure.
So where are you drawn? You said the two bad characters first. So my inclination as a GM is always to push you. The first thing you said was those two. So given what you know about Seismic as a hero and then as a villain and now back as a hero, and what you know of Foxling, which one do you think you have to prove yourself to?
I think Seismic and I are friends, so it feels a bit strange to want to prove to them I'm a hero. So I'm going to say it's Foxling.
Okay, does that work for you, Foxling? Okay.
Okay, yeah, and I think it's also like your dad has something to do with it. Like I think it's also like, I think there's a lot of, maybe I don't know your dad's a bad guy, but
well, it's sort of well known because he's like this like tech billionaire, who does all these things, and it's very like if you're familiar with like the Superman, it's Lex Luthor, like this brilliant man, and he's a villain, but
okay.
But
cool.
Here's the thing: is at least for Foxling, their parent is involved in their life of being a super being, maybe contrary to it, but there's a connection there.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting question. You get to give influence over you to 3 of your teammates, which actually says which teammate doesn't have influence over you.
Lol, we haven't even started, and you're already mixing up. starting crap.
What? Lol, just because I don't know exactly what influence is, but what does it?
So influence means it's you feel like if they tell you to do something, maybe you want to do it. Like it's that pressure, like they have sort of an emotional hold on you that you feel you want to live up to their expectations. Mechanically, it gives a benefit for moves, but it's also a way it's like there's a mechanical reaction to it if they say, you should do this, and you want to kind of push back on it.
Okay. Maybe. Okay, I think maybe the only person who doesn't have influence on me is 404, just because we have like an unproblematic relationship.
Oh, okay.
Like maybe like we have a simple relationship and it's good. Like it's just positive.
Okay. So Foxling, Hope, Seismic can all write in influence over Jasmine Knight. All right, that brings us to our brain. So what is your first relationship question?
So you told Hope about your shame and asked them for their confidence.
Ooh.
So Hope knows what I've done, but she told me that I'm still worthy, that like in the future, my presence on the team makes a difference, that I can be a hero. Which, side note, is why when we get to influence, Hope is absolutely getting influence.
Okay.
But then the other one is you wish you could be a better hero, more like, and I put Jasmine Knight. So it may be uncomplicated on your end, but I'm sitting here with my -1 mundane, and you're sitting over there with your 3 able to talk to people, and people look up to you, and you have no powers, and you're still out there fighting with effectively a sharp stick, and
Nice.
and it's amazing. Like your confidence when you are so amazingly and totally outmatched is very inspirational to 404, who is hides behind some other things, their own confidence issues. I realized I'd never actually described. I did put up pictures for 404. Is a tall, skinny black man who wears glasses. In his superhero outfit is actually pretty simple. It's a sleek black outfit with a black helmet, but then like on the pocket in silver, it's embroidered out 404.
Awesome.
And then influence.
Well, let me ask one question here. I always want to confirm on this. Hope, Jasmine Knight, are you okay with that influence relationship choice?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
He's the, I recognize his software in some of the stuff that, eventually made the time travel portal that I used.
And then, your influence, 2 of your teammates.
Well, that's going to be Hope for one, and I think the other one's going to be Seismic, although I think we've established that Seismic does not know why.
Okay.
Which is my shit brainwashed your dad, dude.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Be like that.
So Seismic and Hope will both record that they have influence over 404. All right. Let's come to our Scion. What is your first relationship question?
So I think this is kind of already baked into everything we've talked about, which is Blank is the only one who understands what I'm going through. I told him which part of me I wished was more like my parent. So that's gonna be Seismic, Pietro. Like I don't think I could pick anyone else for that, given the narrative we have.
Does that work for you, Cisco? Okay.
So what is the thing that you've told me that you wish you could be more like your dad about?
So I wish that I could be. What do I want to be more like my dad?
What of Lex Luthor's personality,
Yeah.
legacy, influence? What is it that you're not rejecting, that you do want?
I think it's his composure.
Oh, nice.
Because I think it's his composure, because I think I do have the sort of drive, and that's why I've become this superhero, and I think I have that sort of staunch, like, this is what I'm doing, I'm gonna do it. But I wish I had the composure. I think sometimes he gets easily aggravated, especially when people like won't let up, like, yeah, he's my dad, whatever. Like so
I think you're still a teenager.
Yeah, I'm still a teenager, and I'm also still dealing with some anger issues right now in regard to finding out that, like, yeah, where I came from.
I like the idea that we had an exchange, and I'll say that Pietro shared with you that he wished that he had influence over people like his dad and be able to build them up before he became a villain. That's what he was like. He was known for maybe bringing other people under his wing and building them up.
I think there's just like a really great scene where we're at like the penthouse, just like on the roof or something. chilling. Maybe we've
Mhm.
stolen some like vintage wine that's way too expensive.
I was
You're
just
getting
thinking
crunk-
underage
Or just
drinking.
getting
Yes.
crunk on it, not actually savoring it and enjoying it, and it's like some $1,000 bottle of wine,
Mhm.
and like, yeah,
And my character is definitely like, my character also wears like the classic crazy hair, like leather jacket, right? And so you're like swirling this wine and I'm like drinking it out of the bottle, and maybe you're even cringing like, oh no, please savor that.
I think he's not savoring it, and I think that's the fun part. I think maybe you're teaching him not to. You're like, dude, just chug, 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 chug.
But
So, what is your second relationship?
So my second relationship is my parents once fought and thrashed blank. I've got to find a way to make it up to them. I think 404 would be fun for this one.
Oh, interesting.
I think and I think that's maybe how they had their minions sort of thrash you, and maybe that's how they sort of got your information.
Oh, could be.
Or maybe you did some kind of retaliatory effort when you realized that they had your stuff, and he like crushed you like a bug.
Well, so I like those ideas. My initial idea, which is not necessarily better, was that when I was trying to save people by rerouting all the emergency stuff, that your father was like, no, I need that to fail. And then it wasn't actually my failure to understand people, but he actually anti-hacked my hacking, and just
got rehacked.
I got rehacked. So that was my thought. But I mean, if people showed up and beat him up and took his shit, we could do that too.
Yeah, beat him up, took shit. Or you went to go and like be like, hey, look what you did. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you tiny little snot. Security. Yep. Like any of those, whatever you like best. I think all of those could.
I'll pitch that. I like 404 getting physically thrashed is so tragic because I think he is the most physically vulnerable out of all of us. And if I was reading that comic book, I was like I'm looking at this picture and I'm just like, I just want this kid to be protected all the time. Yeah. Like I'm just like, the dad in me just comes out. So
yeah, physical confrontation is not normally his thing. Yeah.
So I did the hack. There was a reverse hack. You figured out who had done this, and when you went to confront them, you were swept aside by villainous henchmen.
I think I like the idea that he stole the teleporter that I had fixed up, and I went to confront him about it, not really expecting, because I didn't know he was a villain. And then just getting the snot beat out of me because I'm not really set up for that. Like, it's before there was a hero team and I was trying to do stuff on my own.
Nice.
And like, he gets away because he's 404, but
I think because I don't think he'd kill you. I think he just like, you're a snot-nosed brat.
Teach him a lesson.
Teach him a lesson. It's just like he turns to like his assistant, like, Mercy, deal with this, and like I imagine Mercy then beats the ever-living snot out of you and then like drops you somewhere into a dumpster.
Yep.
And is like, you're playing in places you don't belong, kid.
And influence.
Yes.
You get a 2.
Yes. This team might be key to proving you're different from your parent, but you don't want to be defined by your peers either. Give them influence to 2 teammates. So I think I'm probably gonna give influence to 404 because I sort of see you as where, to an extent of where I want my father to be, someone using their genius for good. And I think that sort of is something there. And I think maybe Hope. I think he tries to brush Hope aside a bit, but Hope is also very, essentially good and just seems to be good for good's sake, which is something he's really drawn to.
Do you believe Hope is from the future?
I don't know.
Okay. I like that it's a little ambiguous, that we're not sure on that. All right. So we're going to stop here. I don't think we need to do when the team first came together things, because we got a lot of stuff already, interaction stuff. We are going to start next time under a superhero curfew, like just within the last 48, 72 hours, some one of these supervillains has done something in Gauntlet City. There's a crackdown going on, and certainly Aegis has deployed their new Reynard supported agents out to help keep the curfew in line. There will be an incident, and we're going to start there next time. Okay. I'm not going to do stars and wishes today because we haven't played. And I love all these characters, but we will do that at the end of next session. Now, last thing I want to say, if between now and next time you're like, oh, I hate that choice I made, or I don't like this move, or whatever, feel free to make those changes. Nothing is locked in stone right now. If it's a change that affects relationship or another character, we'll have you check in on that. I will do a little bit of formatting to the sheet between now and next time, and I will add an NPCs tab. Does that seem okay with everyone?
Yes, Lowell, can I ask for one more outsource to the table?
Yeah.
It would really help me if everyone would try to come up with one high visibility bad thing that me and my dad did together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. A villainy homework for everyone. I love it. All right. Thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording.